is Joe Bandel, and I am the last Rosicrucian. Today, I haven't done a video in a while. This is a Gaia update, and I'm going to call it the Spirit of 1776, because the phoenix is in the process of arising out of the ashes. So, the United States is in crisis right now, and we are going to see some pretty interesting things happening over the next weeks and months. But I'm going to go over a few things that are probably old. You might think old hat or whatever, but it's important. The United States was founded upon the ideas of God-given rights. That's what the amendments are. The right for free speech, the right to keep and bear arms, the right to vote. Unalienable rights is what they're called. Individual rights, as well as personal freedom and freedom from tyranny and oppression, which are things that are just, they're threatening. Our Constitution is threatened. Our way of life is threatened. It's threatened by this election. Now, I'm reading off my notes here. At the center of this is the spiritual concept and the sacredness of allowing each individual to follow an individual path, to follow the still small voice of their conscience. That spark, that divine spark of the Christ Spirit that lies within each human heart. And that speaks of tolerance, because as we demand that for ourselves, we demand that for everybody else on an equal basis. That is the spirit of 1776. That is what the founding fathers believed in, and what the great experiment was. But that idea, that concept of allowing the general population to follow their conscience, that still small voice, that to the rulers, to the elite, to those people in power, that was the most frightening thing imaginable. Because if everybody was following what God told them to do, nobody would pay attention to what the king was telling them to do. This is over in Europe, you know, and even here in the United States. If people were free to follow that still small voice of their conscience and to follow an individual life path, they wouldn't pay any attention to the laws. So the most dangerous thing was to allow religious and spiritual freedom. They couldn't do that. But that is the core of what makes America great, is that idea of spiritual, religious freedom, then the freedom to say and speak what you want. And today, those things are being attacked like they have not been attacked for 100 years. What it boils down to, we're looking at a battle within our society between two things, the concept of an internal authority and an external authority. And I don't care if you're an atheist, I don't care if you're into spirituality like I am or not, or if you have a different view of that. It's whether you're internally directed or whether you need to have somebody telling you what you can and you can't do. And there's plenty of people out there saying, hey, the human race needs to follow the rules, needs to follow the laws. And there's some very scary things that are being done to implement this concept of external authority in a very invasive way. And if you look at the election that's going on now, it's not so much that there's Trump supporters. There are Trump supporters, but what they are afraid of is losing the Constitution, that it's being taken away. And President Trump has been accused of dividing the United States, dividing the population, and that's not true, because he's not dividing the population. The population has been divided since the 1960s with the introduction of these anti-spirituality laws or concepts, these progressive viewpoints that are direct attacks on internal authority. Now, life itself, organic life, demands discipline. You can't just go out and have what you want and do what you want without consequences. There are natural consequences to everything that we do. But there's a whole group of people in our society that have forgotten that there is even such a thing as natural consequences. They think they can just have a temper tantrum and get away with it. There needs to be an accountability, there needs to be an organic reality, and there needs to be a win-win situation for the common person. Each person needs to be recognized on an individual level. Individual rights need to come back. It can't all be collective crap, which is what where we're finding ourselves. Oh, do this for the collective, or the COVID-19 thing, and nothing will ever come of it. But they're talking about scary things like, don't give food stamps or unemployment unless you have your proof of your vaccine. You can't fly in an airplane unless you have your vaccine shot. Maybe you can't get somebody just mentioned, oh, we've got to make it so you can't get a stimulus check unless you've had your COVID vaccine, the proof of that. In other words, look at these things from the concept of external authority. You got to stay at home. You can't have any more than 10 people over, and they all have to be immediate family. They have to be family. On and on and on it goes. And what is it? It's external authority getting in our faces, rubbing our noses in it. And where is the line? Where's the line that's going to be drawn? What's reasonable? What's not reasonable? We collectively, as a community, as a nation, are in the process of figuring that out. Now, in terms of the election and what's going to ultimately happen, I still do believe that President Trump is going to come out on top. But it may end up being through who knows? I'm not even going to go there. I'm just going to say the fraud within this election needs to be exposed, and it will be exposed one way or another. And the consequences of that fraud will be what propels Trump back for his second term. I believe that. Which brings up a last point, a secondary point, which is about how do you know what to believe? There's intel, you want intel, and if you're somebody like me, whatever, everybody, you're looking for what I can believe in. Where's the good stuff, you know? And the truth is right now, you've got to sort it out for yourself. You've got to sift through things. If you're sitting there believing what you're being spoon-fed, that's not a good place to be. It's not going to be helpful in the long run. This is challenging times, and what's happening now has to culminate. It has to find its resolution before the middle of January. So we have 30 days, a little over 30 days for everything to happen. It's going to be getting pretty crazy. Hopefully it's not getting violent. I do believe, based upon Justice Alito saying he's going to listen to this case and proposing the date of the 9th December, that the Supreme Court has indicated that it is going to take on the case of this election, and therein lies our fate, unless it's going to go through the military, and nobody wants that. So it's kind of like God help us. But the point that I want to make is, it's not that people love Trump. What happens is people love the Constitution, and they're afraid that the Constitution is being attacked and in danger of disappearing forever. And whether you agree with that or not, that's a real stance. And the fact that people are feeling backed into a corner to where they need to stand up for it, that's very real too. And the final thing that's very real is we may never know just exactly how many people that how many people voted for Joe Biden, but we do know that a hell of a lot of people voted for Trump, and that they're not going to back down. That's a solid wall. And it could be an impasse that continues, but I doubt that it's going to be an impasse. But I don't think it's going to break. I don't think they're going to give, because they have too much at risk. They have that voice of conscience. They have that spirituality. They have that belief in internal authority. And that is the spirit of 1776, which has returned. I guess I'm out of time. I'll talk to you later. I needed to get one video in. I haven't done one for a long time. So Merry Christmas. If I don't get another video out, I'll try to. Thank you.